y'all so much for joining us, hanging out with us here tonight for the very first episode of the Tyler Lennon Show here on Chad's Media. I'm Tyler Lennon, and we have a very special guest for y'all tonight, a good friend of mine, an amazing artist. It is the homie Cade here in the building with us. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I feel honored to be your first guest.
You feel honored?
I really do.
I feel honored that you would be the first guest. Dude, thank you so much for
totally
hanging out with us, for real. So I know the vast majority of the people tuning in tonight are here for you, but I don't want to waste too much of your time or their time, but I'm going to be sentimental very quickly, if you don't mind. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Tyler Lennon. I'm a sports writer here in town. I've had a podcast. There's been a few different iterations of that, but this interview that we're doing right now has been like a long time in the making. Back on the podcast way back in the day, you were a guest of mine, and we kind of started our careers kind of at similar times. We've always been good friends.
For sure.
Like to kind of think back on that podcast we did together, it was just at one of your friends' house who was nice enough to let us do it there. We had like my equipment and everything. Now we're in this awesome studio. We've got all this awesome equipment. We've got an amazing team of people here at Chad's Media. Like, this is really, really cool to be doing right now.
I agree.
It is. Speaking of which, we have an amazing team of people here. We got Casey. We got Chad. Chad's going to be checking in with us from time to time tonight.
What's up?
So, you want to get started?
Oh, real quick to go back on that. Do you remember, didn't we do like a radio show one time at the college? That was like our first.
Did we? So I know we've done at least, this is our third time doing something together, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. Very quickly though.
Wait. I'm going to need to know more about this radio show. Hey, look, I'm on the screen now. I need to know more about this radio show in college.
Okay. So like, weren't you, he was running, you were working at the station in Commerce, right?
I was not. Drew worked there for a little while. What I was doing was, when I first started my podcast and everything, I got picked up by this group of people called Takeover Sports. Shout out to JT Barrett, Cam Thomas. Hopefully y'all are watching. But they picked us up. They loved the podcast, and they were doing an online radio station.
That's what it was.
And they wanted us to do an online radio show. So that's what that was. Yeah. That was the Lennon Closet podcast, which, by the way, will be coming back very, very soon. So be tuned in for that. Again, I realize a huge majority of the people, I don't think there's a ton of Tyler Lennon fans out there that are wanting to see how well I interview tonight.
I'm a Tyler Lennon fan. I'm ready to see it.
Thank you. I'm sure there is a huge audience from Chad's Media that's tuning in just because this is a Chad's Media production, but a huge majority of the people here tonight are here for you. So I don't want to, again, waste time talking about things they might already know or things that I've asked you in the past, but the very generic, and I hate to ask generic questions, I pride myself in not asking bland generic questions, but let's get it out of the way. When did you get into music and everything? How did that become, at what point in your life did that kind of become a thing for you?
Okay. Got into music at a really early age.
Okay.
To be honest, I got into music when I was 7. That's when I really started playing music. But I didn't get into the mindset of making music a career until 2016-ish,
Okay.
2015, 2016. Somewhere in that area. It's a little blurry. But I don't know, man. Like, I graduated high school and I thought I was going to be a video game designer, whatever that comes with. I don't know what I was going to do.
You still could be a video game designer if you wanted. Don't give up on that dream.
I guess you're right.
Don't let this whole music thing take you away from you.
I know, it's kind of like, can't be doing that. But I don't know. I just was really confused at the time, and I don't know why. Like, music's always been there for me. Like, in my family, it's always just been the one thing that I preach this all the time. It's kind of cliche. It's the one thing that I feel like I'm really good at, and it's the gift that I have. And I felt like finally, 2015, 2016, I was like, oh, let's make that a career. But right. I'm sure it was always a thought in the back of my mind, but the music industry is really hard, man. It's it really, really is. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of grind. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, as with anything, but it's very sketchy, and you have to be in it for the long haul if you're going to do it.
For sure. This will be my last one of these, I think, and then we can keep it moving from there. But again, for someone let's pretend this is their introduction to you. Again, very generic, very bland question, might be hard to answer, but if someone, they do not know who Cade is, can you kind of describe, whether it's maybe a couple artists or groups or something, like what is your sound? Who is Cade? What kind of music do you make?
It's really hard as an artist to, at least for me, to kind of like sum that all up into one thing, especially for me because I take influence from so many different genres of music. Like, I grew up on my dad's side, like, he listened to country and rock. My mom listened to like 80s hair bands, and also some, like, my dad listened to blues. Like, there's just so much stuff like that I was around. And then when I got into like my peers, they were listening to rap, and then I got into metal, like from my stepbrother. You know, all these things like kind of molded like what I think my sound is. I don't really know. And I listen to so much music. I don't just stick to one genre when I'm listening to music as well.
You probably listen to things that, like, even if you're not going to make anything that sounds remotely close to that, like, you're still listening to that, you're still consuming it.
Yes, I listen to things that would probably scare you. Let's be honest. I do.
See,
but
after this is over, maybe you can show me some
I
of that.
will
We
definitely
can check some
do
of
that.
out.
But yeah, I try to pull things like there's a new single that is going to be on the album that me and Chad recently shot a video to.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah, it's called Inferno, and I feel like this song is something that has brought in the more metal side of me.
Okay.
It's got some very heavy guitar work in there. It's got a really, like, I would say a metal guitar solo kind of near the end, and I've actually screamed in it a couple times. Even though it's like in the background, it's kind of on the sides, it's not really like...
See, that's kind of the perfect way to do that too.
Yeah.
I love when you hear like kind of in the background, like that's a really cool touch.
But to summarize, I don't know, my sound is like pop, R&B, alternative, rock, all those things kind of put together, a little bit of hip hop. I don't like to classify it as one thing because
I will
don't
say
like
there's
to stick to
definitely
one
elements, as someone who for me as a huge, I'm a huge music nerd. That's one of the things we bond over a lot. It's a bunch of like throwback like 60s, 70s stuff, but then it's a lot of hip hop, a lot of R&B, and I feel like I pick up a lot of that from in your music.
Yes.
You mentioned you had shot a video with Chad.
Yes.
It was right here, Chad. Do we have any evidence of this? Do people
Okay.
know?
I think we
this
got
happened?
that 1 7-second video.
So,
It's cool though.
so we've got this. We don't want to give away too much because it's it's pretty
Understood.
cool.
Right. We need the people to wait for it. Right.
It's coming out.
When is this single coming out?
When is this single coming out?
4 weeks before the album drops. The album is going to drop. I don't know if I should.
That was very vague.
Yeah, that was very vague. I'd say the beginning of January.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
beginning of January.
So here is a 7-second teaser
see
to
it.
the new song. Did you say the name of it?
Inferno.
Inferno.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
Okay. I'm sorry, I might be a little bit biased here, but that is the coolest and the hardest like short promo for video I've ever seen in my life. That is so dope.
Funny story. I don't know if Chad wants me to talk about it. I did almost burn my hand during the filming of that video.
I don't care if he wants you to talk about it or not. I want to hear.
Oh yeah,
more
we're gonna talk about
this.
it. It wasn't that bad. Burns hurt. Burns,
Right.
whether you burn it a lot or you burn it a little, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna sting. So yeah, we had this one scene where I had a stick and we doused it in like, we wrapped it in like, what did we wrap it with? Like burlap. Yeah, burlap. Yeah, and then we tied it up and then we.
Very flammable.
Oh yeah, very flammable. But then we also doused it in lighter fluid, like a bunch of it. Like we soaked it. And the scene.
We didn't do anything.
Okay, yeah.
I
He-
was running
he
a
wasn't
camera,
part of that
so I would
part.
like to not be thrown under that
Okay,
bus.
all
Well, you're
right.
not
Okay.
the
Fair
director,
enough.
though. This is not
Tyler,
under
go
your
back to
direction.
your
Okay,
interview.
okay.
Fair enough. He didn't have anything to do with dousing it in lighter fluid. But the scene was, we have the stick laying on the ground, and I'm walking up, I grab the stick, and I pick it up, and there's a burn barrel already lit with fire, and I stick it in there, and I light it on fire, and there's a trail of gasoline to a big burn pile, which is the one that's in that promo video right there. And pretty much I'm just grabbing the stick, lighting it on fire, and setting the trail on fire so it then lights the bonfire.
What could go wrong?
It was doused so much in lighter fluid that it was like, it burst into flames, and like, as I'm holding the stick down, the flame was huge, and it just engulfed my hand, and I'm like trying to like keep my cool because I'm like, this is for the shot, like I gotta make this look cool.
In your head at all, where you're like, do it for the vine, do it for the vine. Like, what was going on?
100%,
At
yeah,
no
do it for the
point were you
gram.
Like, this might go poorly.
Well, it did, and then I was like trying to hold it, but then I couldn't. I like dropped it. I was like, dude, I was like, he's like, no, you're good. And so I picked it back up, and I'm like, light it, and then I throw the stick, and he's all in the back, and he's like, put it down. I was like, okay, and I just had to stand there, and I was like, man, I hope that turned out good. But it did. We looked at the footage afterwards, and it looked hard. It was
So
sick.
to reiterate, before we keep it moving, Chad not only under his direction had you do that, but he also told you you're good and told you to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's Chad's fault. No, I'm just kidding. Chad was there. He was very sympathetic about it.
Very quickly,
Sympathetic about it.
we're talking about you two doing things together. I believe you have a new single out right now that's called Undercover, and there's a music video for that as well.
Yes,
And
and
being that Chad's the one that filmed it, directed it, I believe it was even filmed. Where was it filmed?
right here.
Right here in this super dope
I think I was
studio?
actually standing mostly right where we're at right here.
Really?
Yeah.
Could we get that going?
Yeah,
there?
we
I
can-
think
we
the
can watch
people,
that.
for anyone who hasn't seen it, might would like to
We
see
gonna
it.
play the whole thing?
I believe we can.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, might as well.
I guess this is our show. We can do whatever we want, huh?
So you guys are on the screen right now, just so you know.
Okay.
So you want to walk us through this?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm doing a poor job setting this up. If you don't mind, let's kind of walk us through this video. Before we start, like, how often do people get to watch a music video and have the artist of the music video walk them through the video? I feel like this is pretty dope for the people watching.
For sure.
Okay, so we're able to see this as well. Also, the lighting in there was so cool.
Man, Chad makes the lighting come to life. Like, that's one of my biggest things when it comes to music videos. I'm a big fan of just like creative lighting, and I like that we use like the actual light source in the video, like the way we've got the tubes back here, but like putting them in the video instead of just using the actual ambience from the light itself.
Right.
I always love stuff like that. But also the color scheme, like I kind of pretty much, I told him what I wanted, and he was like, all right, cool. So we just made it happen, and it turned out way better than I even thought it would have. So
Not to brag too much on our employers in here, but I feel like Chad's very good at that. Like, you tell him what your idea is, like, he's gonna make it happen.
Oh, 100%. Chad is one of the most talented people I know. I'm not even lying.
Chad
I'm
might
not
be
saying
the
that
most
because he's
talented
right there.
person.
He's giving me the thumbs down right now. He's giving me the thumbs down, but I really do mean it. Chad surprised me 100%. Like, how many music videos have you done, Chad? How many music videos have you done?
None?
None? Yeah, that was the first one. That's exactly why you surprised me. So we get in here, and it's so cool. Hang on, can you see me still? Can you see? Okay, look. We get in here, and I'm doing my thing, and Chad's got the whole gimbal set up and all, everything, and he's like getting in it. I'm like, yo, like, I got taken off guard the first take. I was like, Chad's getting into this stuff right now.
The coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, a couple weeks ago, I don't know how much I can talk about, but we, for the Sulphur Springs boys basketball team, we went and did like a hype video and everything, and Chad was like, yeah, this is like my first day on the job. This is my first day working for Chad's Media, or like my second day maybe. We get there, he's like, yeah, come, you can take some behind the scenes photos just for my own articles and everything, previewing the season. Yeah. I get there, it's not only this amazing setup that takes like all this time to put up and everything, but he's starting to go through it with each individual player, and he's on, what are those called? Not segways, but like a Segway, and he's literally like going back and forth, and I'm like, where do I work?
So
This
where were you?
is
Were you
so
in
cool.
Were you in a gym?
Yeah, we were in the Sulphur Springs High School gym.
So get this, he did the exact same thing in a pasture when we filmed Inferno.
In a pasture?
In a pasture, over hills. He was on the Segway, going
It's
in and out with the
bumpy.
camera. Yes, I'm telling you, it's impressive. Before
we
he's
get back to
impressive.
you real quick, how much practice does that take, Chad?
How many times have you segued?
Like on a Wednesday night, are you just practicing driving back and forth with the
He's
camera?
in here with the camera, running laps, just in this room on the Segway with the camera, just not filming anything.
No one gets
Would that surprise you if that was the case?
Honestly, no. Just because of how good you were at it. Like, that takes practice. Like,
So
Or
I
you're just-
will tell you because I'm very biased because there's a young lady sitting in here with us, my daughter, and her and her brother. Remember when I first got the Segway? I had it at the house, and I was trying to learn how to ride it. And these two knuckleheads jump on it and just go zooming all over the house.
No practice.
And no practice, none
Just
whatsoever. But they taught me how to ride the Segway.
Gotcha.
But this is not a Chad interview.
My fault. I keep throwing it over.
No. It's totally
Okay.
fine.
But just to tag on one more time, Chad is the most talented person I know.
Okay,
Anyways,
moving on.
He's the most talented person in this room. Anyway.
honestly, 100%.
No,
I'm not even lying.
That's not even close.
100% it is.
Keep moving.
Okay, so we were talking about the single. We were talking about the video, Undercover. How did the single come about? We will talk about your future music here in a second, but this isn't a part of that. This is just a single.
Okay. Yeah. So, do have an album coming, but Undercover is not a part of this album. It's just a single that was dropped before all of that madness. The single came about. It was odd. I've been working on a lot of music since I've been off the road with Pecos and the Rooftops. I know there's probably some people in here that knew that I was a part of that band. I've been working on a lot of music, and Undercover was like not necessarily a throwaway, but it was something I made so quickly that I was just like, okay, this is, I'm just gonna push this aside. I'm gonna make it real quick, but then I started listening to it more, and I was like, this is fun. Like, this is a fun song. I enjoy this. Like, I hear a lot of things that and I was like, okay, I love this song now.
Okay, no offense to you. I love all of your music. And for the people that don't know this, I doubt I'm the only person that this applies to. But again, I've been good friends for a long time, and we kind of started our careers at like similar times, and we've been big supporters of each other. But I'm somebody that, especially back in the day, but even today, like, you'll send me demos, stuff that's nowhere near being done. You're like, hey man, I want you to listen to this, give me your honest feedback. Yeah. When the first time I heard Undercover, I was like, okay. And then like the second, third, fourth time I heard it, I was like, okay, this is a really fun song. This is like really dope.
I love like getting to send people like early versions, because once they hear the final product, and there's some people that really don't hear a difference.
There's a few times I've been mad at you though, because you'll send me something that's super dope and it's still in the vault to this day. Yeah. I'm like, I want to listen to this. Like, this was awesome.
Do you know which one?
There's more than one. There's
really?
A couple of them. I don't have the title off the top of my head, but there's at least two I know that you sent me, and I was like, this song slaps. This is so dope. And then it never got put out.
I got a couple that are like that I know for sure are never gonna make it. I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know.
One day you need to make just a tape of just
throwaways.
Call it throwaways or something like that, and just a tape of the stuff that you didn't put on an album or an EP or anything.
That'd be pretty sick.
Before we get going any further, I feel like this would be a good time to point out anybody that's watching live. Thank y'all so much. We appreciate it. Obviously, I know some people can't watch live. You'll be watching this later. We also appreciate that. But the one thing you're missing out on is the ability to talk to us. So it's live. Get in the chats. Any questions you have. Hopefully, I'm going to do my job as an interviewer and ask everything y'all want to hear. But please, any and all questions that we can get to, Chad's going to be on top of that. So he'll be throwing them at us whenever we get the chance. You mentioned album on the way.
Yes.
So I don't know how much you can or can't talk about it, but tell us a little bit about it. What can we expect from that album? Just in terms of style, feel, vibe, mood, all that.
Okay. The album is very different from everything, and I feel like that's a cliche thing to say as well. Like, this is different than everything I've ever done.
But this is
but legitimately,
I mean, yeah.
This has been a lot of growth. I've been making a lot of music, like I said earlier, and I'm making sure to pick and choose from the best of the pile. And but sound specifically, I've always wanted to tackle something. I'm not a dark person. I have gone through dark things in life, but I wanted to tackle the darker side of of what I've been through, some of my lows in life, and I wanted to interpret that sonically in a dark way as well. So the album is a very dark R&B alternative album.
Awesome.
There's not a lot of, actually there's really no happy vibes on there. It's really it's very like dark.
So this is not a summer, like driving with the windows down.
No. This is a nighttime rolling through, late at night, or through city vibes at night. It's like a nighttime listening.
That feels like a perfect winter, like something to drop in the winter.
For sure. And it's also, it could also work during the summer, but like I said, it's just a nighttime vibe. It's something that you feel like you want to jam to late at night. That's what
So that's something that you and I have talked about, obviously off camera and everything, but again, pretty good friends. We talk about a lot of this stuff. I think we've had a couple conversations about it recently, but like not everyone probably can relate to this, but for people that are super nerdy about music, like there is a very, I don't know how to word it, but like certain songs have a nighttime vibe or a summer vibe.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah.
Or like a winter, you know what I mean? That kind of just feel. Maybe it's imagery, or like you picture yourself, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it sounds like that's what this is going to be.
Yes, and I think a lot about imagery. I think a lot about random stuff like colors. I think about like, what colors would I associate with this album? Like those types of things. So yeah, I picture like, if I'm listening to this song, if I'm making a song, I'm like, would this vibe if I'm, maybe laying in bed at night with the TV off and I'm just got my AirPods in? Would this vibe at that time? Or would this vibe with like I said earlier, you're driving, late night drive maybe by yourself or with friends in the car. You're on your way to Dallas to do something fun for the night, for the weekend. Does it vibe with that? Like those are the types of things that I think about when I make these songs. Of course, lyrical content comes from the heart, but the vibe, the overall, the experience that you get from it, I take from like, what would people be doing when they listen to this song? And would it fit what I pictured them doing?
It's funny you mentioned that specifically. Not to flex on myself, I feel like this is a very smooth segue, but I feel like everything you've done in your career, starting from the very, very beginning, and we'll go back and touch on just a little bit of that, but one of the biggest things that I applaud or compliment you on is I feel like everything you do is very, 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 I don't know if strategic is the right word, but it's like planned out. Everything has a purpose, whether it's a single that you drop or lyrics that you're writing, when you release something. I feel like you're very, very good about just being well thought out and like having a purpose. You're not just like, oh, here's a track, go. I feel like everything you do is scripted, not scripted. That seems as if it's fake or we're not getting like the real you, but I feel like you do a very good job of like really carefully planning out how and when you're going to do these type of things.
I appreciate that you feel that way, because to be honest, sometimes I'm just winging it.
Really?
Yeah, but if it looks that way, that's all that matters. I do try to be
That's
structured,
That's
but
poor like analysis on my
no,
part.
I mean, it's not poor analysis. Like, I want it to look that way. Obviously, I want it to feel like I've got my stuff together, but sometimes I'm just winging it. Like, I really am. I'm just like, I got to get, like, with Undercover, it was a last-minute thing. I was like, I need to put a single out. Like, I just need to be putting music out. And I was like, okay, we'll throw it together. Let's make a video real quick. And Chad was on the ball, and we did it, and put it out. I didn't have any, like, real solid plan for it. I didn't have any solid plan for slow-mo when it dropped before Undercover. It was just more of like, I don't know. It seems that way. I don't know how it looks that way, but I appreciate it. That's all that matters.
Okay, sticking on that kind of same general topic, at like the very beginning of what I consider, I guess, your career, you were putting out some YouTube videos, some covers and stuff. And I feel like this is a conversation we had on the first time we did a show together.
Yes.
But I feel like that was such a smart, like, strategic move because we saw some other talented artists who probably could have made it or could have got bigger, but just didn't want to do that kind of thing. Whereas you realized, you're like, no, this is an opportunity for me to pull in people I may not otherwise have. Because I can have the best original content in the world, but until people have heard me or they know who I am, they're not going to find it. I need to put this kind of stuff out. It might not be what I want to do right now, but if I do this 2, 3, 4, 5 times, then I'm going to start to grow this little base, and then I can put out my original work.
Yes, I learned a lot from that time of life, that section, era of life, whatever, when I was doing those covers, because that was when I decided I wanted to do music full-time or just as a career in general. I might not have been doing it full-time then, but yeah, it got me to learn so many things. Like, I didn't know how to write music at the time, but I think doing those covers and learning how to produce, because I would try to produce them, sometimes I would make them different, but a lot of times I would try to recreate the production that's in these songs.
Right.
And me not being a producer at the time, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I figured out a way, every time, and I think that helped me grow, helped me learn more as a producer, learn more as a songwriter, just because I was like, I don't know, I was just like building songs from the ground up that weren't mine, and that helped me learn to make my own music. And I also just learned a lot of things about like marketing and a lot of the important things that I feel like a lot of artists don't take advantage of. I feel like, we talked about this the last time, but artists, I feel like they just want to keep making music and playing shows and doing this thing, but like there's so much to this that you have to understand.
Right,
like, to
there's
grow and
so
take it
much
further.
more to just having the talent, and there's so much more to even being able to produce or to be able to write music.
Yes.
I mean, exactly what you're talking about, the marketing, the promo, all of that kind of stuff. Like, unfortunately, whether or not you want to do that, that's a big part of that. And I think that's something that, I don't want to say you've mastered, but I feel like you are very good at that kind of thing, because it never comes off as like disingenuous or like, oh, look at me, I'm promoting myself. Like, no, you're a very accessible, fun, approachable person. Like, you're just promoting your music.
Got to be business minded, but I want to be approachable. But like I said, business minded is like key. Like, music is a business, and if you're not treating it that way, then it's gonna stay stagnant, And even when you are business minded, sometimes it doesn't grow as fast as you want to. There's a lot of things that you just gotta, you gotta pick apart, and you gotta learn as you're going, and that's been the biggest part for me.
So you touched on a couple things there. I want to kind of back to back those real quick, and then we'll keep moving forward. But we had mentioned how you got into music and talked about those days. You kind of mentioned this earlier, but what was that first moment? What did that look like for you when you were like, I can do this? Or whether maybe you didn't know that you could, but you were like, I don't care if I can do it or not, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. I think it was pretty literal. Like, I think I was, if I'm remembering correctly, I was in a pretty depressed state at the time, and I was just like trying to think. I was like, here I am. I think at the time I was 19, 20-ish, and that's not long after you graduate. But you get done with high school and you kind of stress out, like, what am I gonna do?
Right.
Like, you feel like you don't have enough time. And I'm like, I was feeling that way, and also with other things in life hitting me, and I was just like, man, like, what am I gonna do? And I sat there and thought, and I remember I was in my bed, and I was like, I'm good at music. Like, why do I not just do it? And it was literally that fast.
Really?
It snapped, and I got on YouTube, I think that night, and I was looking at things like how to make a music career. I was doing I just like I got so excited. Like, I was really in a depressed state, in a dark place, but that moment, like, in that thought of me, like, oh, like, I can do this. Like, why not try this? It got me so happy and excited for like what I could become or what I could do. So it was pretty literal. I mean, I was just there one night and it was a snap. I was like, I'm gonna do that, and then I just pushed for it. I tried to get like as much like music equipment as I could. Like, within that following month, I did. I
just hit the ground running
quick.
with it.
Yeah, I did.
On the exact opposite end of that, not to get too dark or anything, but as someone who listens to a ton of talk radio, I'll watch a ton of interviews, that kind of thing. Like, just since I was a little kid, I've just been nerdy in that sense. Like I want to listen to talk radio, but even with the artists I like I've watched probably like 4,000 Lil Wayne videos or Kid Cudi videos. Or interviews, you know what I mean? Every interview I hear, especially on talk radio shows when they talk to artists, I don't want to say like we have not seen your peak yet, no matter how great of things you're doing, which you're killing it, but we haven't seen the peak of Cade yet. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, this is all, this is it. But every artist,
I hope I never see my peak, honestly. I really hope I
at the rate you're going, I feel like we're not going to. Like it's just going to keep growing.
Peak, yeah.
But my question would be, it feels like every artist has that moment of like, nah, I was laying in bed, I was crying, it was it. I was ready to give it up. Have you had any moments like that where you're like, man, this isn't going how I wanted it to, or it's not happening as fast? Like, if blank doesn't happen, I'm out.
Yes.
And what did that look like?
Yes, and that's actually what this album is focused around. I mean, not every song is going to be lyrically about that, but the darkest time of my life involved a lot of that. And this was, I would say, I put it in late 2019. That's kind of when I hit I feel like my lowest point. I was probably the most depressed. I don't want to get too dark on here. I'm happy now, but it's probably the most depressed I've ever been. And I did take a break from music for probably close to 6 months. I was in that state of like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the point of doing this? Am I gonna be something? Like, what do my parents think of me? What do my friends think of me? Of course, probably none of them thought anything bad. But like,
oh, no.
I was in my head. I was very like just low and down. And yeah, I thought about giving up like music in general, like right then and there, like into 2019. And I made a comeback, and it slowly built back up. And I don't think I'll ever go through that again. But definitely been there. And it was what's inspired what's to come in this album.
So it sounds like of all the work that we've heard from you, this will definitely probably be like the most personal that we've heard.
Yes.
Awesome. Again, I just want to remind everybody, this is live. If you got any questions, please be active in the chat, and we can get to as many of those as we possibly can.
We've got a couple.
Oh, we got
sweet.
a couple
Okay. What's up,
Yeah.
Chad?
So some guy named Colton Smith.
Ooh. Do we know who that is?
I don't think so.
He sounds like a loser. I don't know. What's up,
I'm
Colton?
getting to it, Colton. He's asked twice now.
Okay.
Why can Cade's Luigi not handle my ROB? I don't even know what that means. I feel like I just said a bunch of words.
For the viewers right here, we're going to get on a side subject. I am a Smash Bros. Nerd. I play video games, okay? I love video games. I think it's a gift from God, video games are. And I quit playing Call of Duty, Apex, all these things that I used to play back in the day. I quit playing them to play Smash Bros. And this was the beginning of last year. And I just got so invested in the game that like...
Dude, not to cut you off too bad, but we were at a wedding a couple of weeks ago. Or no, it was after a wedding. Me and him were at a wedding together. We go back to someone's house. We're all hanging out, having a great time. I look over, this dude's playing Smash Bros.
I bring my Switch everywhere I go. I bring Smash Bros. And it's kind of a problem. I've got a problem for sure. But, I want to compete.
Cade's first step.
So what Colton's talking about, so I main Luigi in Smash Bros. And he plays a character called Rob, or R-O-B, is a robot in the game. And anyways, he's capping. He's not good at the game. I destroy him every time. That's cap. So Colton, get out of here.
Shout out to Colton, though.
Yeah, shout out Colton, though. I do love Colton.
Love Colton.
Okay. Got a couple more questions. Alex Buchanan, what's the hardest part of writing process for you?
Me out here
that's
stealing
easy.
my questions. That's literally the next thing I was going to ask.
The hardest part is the easiest thing to explain. Writing, like the lyrics. Like lyrical writing is the absolute hardest part. I don't know if you meant like the whole song in general, or if you meant writing the lyrics. But if we're talking about like constructing a whole song from the ground up, like writing lyrics is the hardest thing. I feel like I would have a million songs right now if I was just better at writing lyrics.
Generally speaking, do you start with the lyrics, or is
Never.
it something that just pops in your head, or is it a beat,
Never.
a melody? What's that look like?
Sometimes I have one-liners in my notes, like my phone notes, and I write a few things like just that I think about throughout the day. Very rarely. Like I very rarely do that. But no, I always start with guitar chords, piano chords, or a beat. And the beat is usually just like a skeleton of it. It's never a fully produced beat. And that's what gives me inspiration. And I go off of whatever I'm hearing and what it's in. Because chords, because I'm a musician first before I was a singer. So like chords and like the musical side of everything inspires me. Like it's what tells the story for me. It's how it paints the picture. Like I hear it and I'm like, whoa, okay, this is how I feel. This is what it makes me feel like. Because I'm moved by melody and chords at the end of the day. So, but yeah, I'll sit down and some days, like I'm gonna be honest, Undercover was probably the fastest song I've ever written. I wrote it in probably an hour. Like the lyrics, yeah. I was like sat there and I was like, all right, we're good. And it was like fully done, like an hour. most songs, it takes days of like coming back to it and coming back to it. I'm like,
Right.
why can I not? I don't know. It's just always been my weakest link.
How often, I know we got more questions to get to, but how often do you find yourself listening back to something and be like, oh, I wish I would have tweaked this lyric or that? Or
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
But then also, I feel like I'm the guy who doesn't tweak enough. And a lot of people, like a lot of my musical friends, I'll send them the demos and they're like, I feel like you should change this word. But I'm also stubborn. I'm like, well, I'm pretty dead set on it, so I'm gonna keep it. So, you know, I tend to
fine,
not
I
change
have
it. But like usually once I record a demo vocal, like over it, I'm usually 85% of the time not gonna change a lyric on
You're
it.
pretty
Like,
locked
I'm
in
pretty
on that.
locked in on it if I record the main vocal. But there has been a couple times where I've gone back. Don't get me wrong, it's not never happened, but I'll go back and I'll be like, okay, this doesn't. So most of the time, it's like the way I sang a word rather than the word that
yeah.
I'm saying. I'll be like, I
Fair
don't like the way I
reflection,
said
or,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I sound kind of country there. I'm not gonna do that. So I like re-sing
how
the
often
word.
are we getting like big country vibes from Cade in the studio?
Not very
It
often.
happens, though.
You know, here's the thing. Someone asked me. Actually, a lot of people have asked me, like, where are you from? Like, if they meet me, like, on the road or just in a different state, and I'm like, I'm from Texas. And they're like, are you for real? I was like, yeah. I'm like, why do you question it? And they're like, you don't have a country accent. I was like, well, to be honest, and this is kind of embarrassing. Like, I legitimately, as a kid, I did not like having a country accent,
Really?
a Southern accent. So I made it, like, I thought about it for years, and I just took it away.
See, I'm the
Stick
exact opposite of that. I always, I never thought I had an accent. Now I start doing, like, more podcasts. I start doing radio. People from outside of here are hearing me. They're like, yeah, you sound like a redneck, my dude. I'm like, oh, really?
I mean, I'm
I
sure
didn't
that
know.
like some words, like still, like I said, like when I sing certain words, I hear it, and sometimes when I'm talking, I'm sure it comes out that way. But like, I really made it a point to like not sound Southern. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I was just
I
like,
think your
as a
music would
kid.
sound better. Like, it's very, you have a certain vibe, and it's just like real rednecky on the vocals.
Oh my God! Did you hear that Yummy remix that Justin Bieber did with Florida Georgia Line, where he was like, "You got that yummy"? I'm like, what are you doing?
We
But
need
like,
more of that from you.
okay, bet.
Chad, we have any more questions?
Yeah, we sure do. We have a couple more. Ashley Beasley asked, what's been Cade's favorite song to write and produce so far?
Ooh, legitimately, Inferno. So the song that we recently shot the video to, I've only sent that to a select few people.
And
I
I'm
really
not one of
have.
them. For anyone wondering, I'm not one of
And
them.
I send Tyler everything. I really, really do. Like, if I've got demos, most of the time he's gonna get it. But like,
It's
I
a
don't know.
good
There was
song.
something about it where I was like, this is different, and it was very difficult. It went through. Okay, that song, like not lyrically, but the music side of it was the first time that I've ever sat down and I've revised it. I revised it like 6 times. Like there was the first verse was actually just, and no one's heard it yet, but there was these guitars. It was literally just 2 like chuggy, heavy like metal guitars, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then I got to doing it, and then I changed it. I was like, okay, that's a little too much. Like I'm changing my sound way too much. People aren't gonna understand it. And then I changed it again. I ended up changing like the whole thing. Like it took me 5 or 6 times like to really refine it and be like, okay, I'm finally satisfied. But like once I got it, I was like, whoa. And I think the song in the session was like 101 tracks. Like it's
Okay.
a really large session. It was a lot of fun to make because it was so different. But like, I don't know, I just had so much fun, and I got to include a lot of my influence in that song.
In a
So
situation like that, is it tough once you start really digging at it? Is it tough to be like, all right, I have to leave it alone now?
yeah, it gets a point in time where I overthink a lot. And if I'm spending too much time like revising things and doing all that, like I'll get in my head and I will put away the song, and it'll be one of those that I've sent to you and then you've never heard of again. You know, it'll be
Right.
one of those. So no, I like to like just really hone in on like making sure that I'm satisfied with whatever I'm hearing, and then I lock it in. I'll be like, okay, I'm satisfied. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna follow through, and then I finish it.
Awesome.
Okay, let's see. Uncle Drew.
Shout out, Uncle
Shout
Drew.
out Drew.
Uncle Drew, WNBA. Why is Drew better than Cade at Apex? We don't have to go into that. But I do want to ask this question. This was Jason Patterson. Actually, this is Uncle Drew. In what ways have you changed or grown as a person since our last interview 2 years ago? And how has that helped you in your musical journey?
Gotcha. That's a really in-depth question. But I'll say the last 2 years has been crazy. The last 2 years includes that dark time. So I don't know. I've gone through a lot of experiences in the last 2 years. A lot of really big things have happened, and then a lot of like stupid things have happened where I've, gotten knocked back a little bit. But I don't know. I think just a lot of the hard work has kind of paid off in the last 2 years, like regardless of the dark times. Like there's been a lot of things that have hit me, and I've been like, whoa, I'm blessed. And I've gotten to just kind of take a step back from everything and like I was having a conversation with my mom the other day about something that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I was like, 4 or 5 years ago, we couldn't have a conversation about my career because it wasn't a career. It was just an idea. It was just a hobby. It was like, this is what I want to do. But now, like, there's actually serious conversations of like, okay, this is what I got to do. Like, I got to make this move. Like, what's going on here? I don't know. There's just been a lot of things where I could step back and look at the whole thing in the growth process. And I've been like, I don't know. I've just been kind of taken away by it. I've been like, this is like a blessing. Because at the same time, I don't know how to really answer the question fully, but like, I
feel like you've done a pretty good job so far.
I don't know, but like just going through everything, I feel like I've changed in a better way. I've changed in a more positive way. I've been able to grow. I don't know, just when you're really like working on a growing career, I feel like you just grow as a person in general. I feel like I've done that.
I think especially a career that is such a creative, like everything you're doing is such a creative process.
Yeah.
And that obviously I think probably forces you to kind of self-reflect a lot, or to like have to be self-aware enough to find the mistakes you're making and fix them.
Yes, and I've had to learn to be more productive. Sometimes I feel like I get lazy, and it's easy to get lazy, especially when you're self-employed, technically. I do employ myself in a way, but like I've had to, I don't know, just looking at everything, it's tied in, like growing the career has helped me grow as a person outside of the career, because I don't know, I've just learned so much within it that I can apply those things to other things in life.
Fair enough.
One of the producers of this show, Table Leaf Supper Club, Logan Vaughn.
Gotcha.
He has a question. One artist, dead or alive, that you wish you could do a collaboration with?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right?
Oh, man, that's so hard. I see, oh, man.
If you need time, you can keep that in the back of your head.
No, I'm going to narrow it down right now. I'll name a few, and I'll try to narrow it down. I'll give my reasons why. When Glenn Frey died, I was very upset about that. I love the Eagles. The Eagles have been one of my biggest influences growing up. My dad put me on them. My mom put me on them. Like
my dad was the same way. Favorite group in the world is the Eagles. If you told him anyone else was the greatest band of all time, he would
he'd be like, "What's your problem?" And I almost agree with him. Like,
get out of my house, kid.
But Glenn Frey, and he was my favorite member of the band. Like Don Henley's cool. Like I love the guys in the Eagles, but Glenn Frey for some reason had he had a big influence on me. The Eagles in general did. This is gonna be really like, I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, I could have guessed that, but I'll give my reason why. But Justin Bieber, and the reason why is because all I did in the past was listen to metal music mostly. I went through a phase. Okay, I did have a lot of influence, but I went through a phase where I only listened to metal, only wanted to play metal. I was very stubborn to other kinds of music, and I didn't have an open mind to anything. But when I had a friend, my friend Luis, shout out, I don't know if he's on here, but shout out Luis if he watches this later. He went to college and he learned how to play guitar. I was really the only musical person in my class, and he went off and learned the guitar, and he comes back and he's showing me some stuff. I was like, dude, you've been practicing, you're really good. And he played Love Yourself by Justin Bieber, and I was like, that's a really cool song. He's like, you know who that is? I was like, no. And he just played the song for me without showing me the phone, and I was like, I love this song, this is really cool, like, who is it? And he goes, you're not gonna believe me. I was like, just try me. He goes, you're not gonna believe me. Show me the phone, it was Justin Bieber. I was like, in that moment, it was a real pivotal moment. I feel like we've talked about this, I don't know, but I sat there and I was like, okay, I actually had no reason to not like Justin Bieber, but I now understand, like, I was on a bandwagon, and I'm gonna grow from this. And I was like, that just inspired me. Literally, that moment inspired me to listen to other music, like
that's
other types of music.
That's 1,000% something I was gonna ask you about. We can keep it moving. I'll bring it back.
But yeah, that moment, I was like, okay, I need to be more open-minded. Why did I hate certain artists? Why do I hate a certain genre of music? Like, this is actually really good, and I love this song. I'm gonna listen to more music. So that was a pivotal moment, and that's what started, like, I make pop music now. Like, so beforehand I would have never touched pop music. I wouldn't even listen to it. So that's a big reason, like, for what I do.
So we should all be thanking Luis right now.
We should be thanking Luis. We should be thanking Luis and Justin, both. Justin's not gonna watch this, but Luis might. You never know. But I feel like there's another one. This one's another kind of basic one, but I feel like we've had this conversation before. Bruno Mars. I feel like he's the modern day Michael Jackson. I really do. He's a dancer. I'm going to get attacked for this. I feel like Bruno Mars is a more talented individual than Michael Jackson, because I feel like Bruno holds way more. Like, he can do so much more. Like, he produces, he writes for other artists, he plays 1,000 instruments, not really, but he plays a lot of instruments. He's a dancer, he's a performer. Like, everything about him, he has the whole package. And that's something I've always aspired to be, because my dad has always taught me, like, hey, you should learn to do as many things as you can. And his reasoning in the beginning was because like one day you're going to grow up and there's going to be bands that need to fill in, and you can fill in any space and you can make some money. And I was like, okay, that's good logic. But since then, like doing that, it's been an inspiring thing to like learn. I'm not going to be a master at any of them, but at least I can grab a hold of as many things as possible. And I feel like Bruno Mars has been a big inspiration for that too. So I don't know. I really don't know. Like all three of the Eagles have been like a big musical inspiration. Justin was a big like opening my mind like to music and like me doing that. And Bruno's just like an overall like I want to be like that guy kind of thing.
Speaking of Bruno Mars, this is way off topic, but how much do you love Silk Sonic?
Dude, Silk Sonic is
So
amazing.
Anderson .Paak is my favorite artist in the world right now, and of course him and Bruno Mars. And again, someone who like grew up and like loves like 60s, 70s music. Like,
Oh, yeah.
They were made for me.
100%.
I love what they're doing.
Oh, 100%.
Do we have any more questions over there?
Wait, hang on. I didn't tackle my artist.
fault. I'm out
No,
of
you're
there.
good. You're good. At the end of the day, it's got to be a band. I'm gonna put the Eagles. Like I would like to sit down with those guys, like and as a whole, with Glenn Frey at the table as well, because like they really have been like from the ground up, like inspiring me, like in general. Like I do a lot of harmony stuff on my music because they do it, like,
Right.
and that's really like one of the reasons I do it. But yeah, that's probably my answer
Solid choice.
for sure.
Slade Daniels has a question, or Daniel. Slade Daniel. I always say Daniels. Is it Daniel? Sorry, Slade. My bad. What's on your playlist right now?
Ooh, I've got a lot of playlists, honestly. I have this one called it's called the Cade Ultimate Playlist, and I'm trying to build it, and it's literally going to be like probably,
He's named his
it's
own
it's
playlist,
huge.
the
It's
Cade
got like,
Ultimate.
it's going to have thousands of songs on it, but my current listen, let me see, hang on, let me actually pull up a reference here. I've been listening to a lot of, I actually gone back. I have an artist named Bozzy that I really liked. He had an album called Cosmic that I jammed top to bottom, never skipped a song, a couple years ago, and I would listen to that album every day for probably like 8 months straight. I've been going back to him a little bit. Let's see who else. Ed Sheeran's new album. I love that album. Khalid just dropped a new song. I've been on that. The Weeknd is also probably like my top 3 artists. He just dropped a song with Post Malone. Those two are awesome. I've been jamming that. Other than that, I usually, when I'm not doing that, I stick to my classic rock playlist, which has like my Whitesnake, my Def Leppard, like all that stuff. That's pretty much like a weekly thing for me. I love classic metal, classic rock, all that stuff.
Real quick, before we take a few more, if you don't mind, I was curious, what does a studio session look like for you? Because I feel like the average person probably has this idea of a studio session. It's probably like drinks and
Yeah.
What does a studio session look like for
So it depends on the studio. I've got one at my house now. I built a house recently, and I do have a studio room that was like, I don't even have a kitchen, but I have a studio. Like I couldn't have a kitchen. I have like a little kitchenette, but I had to make sure that I had
What's more
enough
important?
room.
Let's be real.
100% work. Like
Cooking or like cooking up beats?
I don't even know how to
Like,
cook. Yeah,
let's be honest.
exactly. The only thing I know how to cook is beets. So yeah, that was definitely more important. I cooked some mac and cheese today, though. I'm not gonna lie, and dude, it was busting.
Wasn't as good.
Listen, I think we have the line of the night. Is it cooking or is it cooking up beats?
Cooking up beats.
The Tyler Lennon Show.
You're right. Hey, I can't cook food except for the mac and cheese, and I can cook a little bit of breakfast. But yeah, I had to make my priorities straight. Anyways, I have a studio in my house. Typically, I'll be honest, the studio sessions in my house are kind of boring. Like it's just me. I walk into the room, I sit there, and I go through ideas for maybe hours. 2 hours, 3 hours, doesn't matter, and until I lock into something. Sometimes it's quicker than that, and I kind of go into the studio knowing exactly what I want to create, but sometimes I'm just like, I need to create something, so I'll just try to get inspired, and I'll search for hours. But
It's like the Michael Scott quote. He's like, I open my mouth sometimes I have no idea where I'm going.
Yep.
I just hope I find it along the way.
Yep, and that's how most of the time it is. So I do that, and by the end of the night, I might have a full idea for a song, and it's ready to go. But other than that, if I'm in, I usually go to the studio in Commerce. Brad Davis has a studio. My really, really good friend Tyler, not Tyler Lennon, but Tyler Thompson, he runs Studio B out of Brad Davis's studio, and we've become really, really solid friends in the last like year and a half, and we'll do sessions in there. Whether it's even for my music or someone else's, like sometimes I'll just do session work with him, and that does look like cracking open a couple beers.
Nice.
And just getting loose, and we just have a really good time. Sometimes we'll take breaks. We really will. Like if I'm with Tyler, we get in the zone. Like it is like you cannot like disturb us. We are like focused. But then we'll also take these random like 30-minute breaks, and we'll watch stupid YouTube videos. Like
It sounds
I'm
like
talking
a good,
stupid.
like, palate cleanser though.
It's great. Yeah, we need that relief, the comic relief for all the like the creative like intensity. But
So you've done, again, we can take another question if we need to, or if y'all would rather me. You've done a good bit of touring here lately, getting to do some live shows and everything. How cool of a moment is that? Because unfortunately, I haven't gotten to go see many of these shows, but every time I see any videos from you or Colton or whoever's like on stage with you, it always seems so much fun. And even more than that, the people that are in the crowd, their videos, I mean, they look like you're having the time of your life, they're having the time of their life. Like, what's a live show like for you, man?
man, that's the bow. That's the ribbon, the bow at the end, like the top of the present. That's like the finisher. For me, like I make music for a lot of reasons, but like for my self-fulfillment, the shows are what like really like put me in a state of like happiness and like me understanding like, okay, whatever I'm doing is working and I'm getting a response from it.
Any moment of doubt you ever have.
Yes, it all comes like it's all like refurbished
Right.
when I play a show. I don't know. It's amazing, man. Like it's really shown me like the last few shows that I played, like the actual growth and the actual people that have been like tuning in and like actually paying attention to whatever it is I'm doing. I guess it's good. I don't know if it is. Maybe they're showing up to make fun of me. I don't know, but they're
it's
there.
Definitely good.
But like it's been amazing. Like these last shows that I played this year has been like incredible. Like the last one I played was in Denton, I believe, and the most surreal moment, man. Like I'm not even playing. I did Rain, my song Rain, and there was a moment that I've never been able to do this. There's a moment I put the mic down by my side and I just sat there. I took my ears out because usually, you know, I have in-ears and I can't really hear what's going on, but I took them out because the crowd was singing every word and I could not, I just didn't want to sing over them. I was like, this is awesome. Like to me, like I almost cried. I was legitimately like just sitting here. I was like,
That's
dude,
got to
like,
be
this
the
is
coolest moment
insane.
in the entire world.
And they sang sections, like it wasn't just one little
Well,
piece.
just
Like
like
they
the hook
kind
or
of know a little bit.
whatever.
I was like, okay, this is amazing. And I just sat there and watched it happen. And they were just loving it. Like they didn't even care if I wasn't singing. They were just like, and that didn't just happen with that song. It happened with a lot of them. But that specifically, when I played Rain, I was like, whoa, like this is really like someone's impacted. I don't know what way, but these people are impacted.
Okay, so talking about Rain, that was a bigger song of yours. That's
Yes.
probably one that you expect everybody.
Yes.
Do you have any songs that it's kind of a two-part question, but do you have any songs that's like you love it to death, but for whatever reason it just didn't get played like that, and then maybe an inverse of that where you're like, man, I really wasn't feeling this track, but people love it.
Yeah. Forever. My song Forever. When I made it, like it was a very different turn for me, and I from a musical side, like it was the lowest I'd sang. Like it was just like a really low tone song, and I was really in love with like the concept of it because it was a love song. I even released it on Valentine's Day, but like, I don't know. I love that song. I love playing it live. I love the feel of it. But I feel like it just never hit, which is okay. It's just like a personal thing to me. Like I love that song.
I'm sure it's hard as an artist to gauge what's gonna pop and what's not.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a big part of me that knew that song wasn't going to be a hit, or, you know, I don't have any hits yet, but I'm saying, like, that wasn't going to be, like, a big hit with my fan base. But I just knew that I wanted to put it out. It was a special message for me that I'd never really displayed before. But, yeah, Forever's definitely one of those.
For me, one of those from you is, it's a song, it's not technically your song, I guess. You were featured
Drugs.
on it, Drugs. I love that song so much, which I guess people probably don't realize. You're not just featured on that song. I believe you produced it.
I did produce it.
And wrote most of it.
I wrote most. I didn't write his verse. I did write he came to me and wanted to make music, and I was like, I told him, because this is a good friend of mine. His name's Tinny, Tristan Tinny. He goes by Tinny. But he came to me. He was like, hey, man, I want to make music. I was like, okay, well, if you want to do a song, like, to help get your feet off the ground, like, I'll do a song with you. And I didn't really know at the time, but I knew his vibe. And before he came in, I'd had this melody in my head. Sat down, I had played this guitar part, and then I was like, okay, here's my idea. I was like, no, too many drugs. He was like, that's kind of cool. I was like, I don't know what it means, but like, let's just run with it. So, yeah, I produced that whole thing, and then we did it. And a lot of people don't really understand the concept of that song. The song is more of like, it's a two-part. Like his side is like, it's not true. I don't want to throw him under the bus by any means because it's not true. But like, it was a two-sided story, like where his side of the story was telling like his addiction with drugs and a girl leaving him because of it, whereas mine was telling my girl was addicted to drugs, and so I had to leave her for it.
Which I think is a perfect way to like set up a song because you have the balance. You watch it start here and get to here. Like I feel like that was a perfectly like constructed song.
Yeah, I agree. As long as it didn't seem like we were like in a relationship together, and then like we were telling it. Yeah,
I like, never thought about it that way until right now.
Yeah, well,
but now I'm gonna go home and listen to it and be like, that's exactly what that song was about this entire time. That's what it was. You've also done some work in some touring and everything with other groups, with other artists, and it will be music that isn't necessarily your sound or your music, but what can you take away from that? Is there any elements that you're like, you know what, I probably would have never incorporated this into my own music, but because I've done this, now there are certain elements, or do you not really get a lot of that?
No, 100% I do. Obviously, the biggest groups out of that would be Pecos and the Rooftops. I joined that band as a drummer, and drums was the first instrument I ever learned how to play, but I've never owned a kit. I've never been able to just consistently play drums and practice drums. So when I joined that band, like, that was my job at that point. Like, I'm playing drums, so it pushed me, although it wasn't the same music, but it pushed me throughout that entire time that I was in the band to be better at drums. And I wanted to get better, and I wanted to be more solid. And because of that, when I came out of it, I was like, okay, I've been playing a lot of drums, like more like dominantly than any other instrument. Like,
right.
I want to include real drums. I want to include me playing drums in some future records, or just like an album, or
rather than
just
using
in my
like a drum
future
machine
career.
or something.
Yeah, 100%. So I took that away because I really fell in love with playing the drums again when I joined them. So yeah, that was the biggest takeaway for me. I learned other than that, I learned a lot of things just like being with those guys. Shout out every single one of them: Pecos, Brandon, Kalen, Zach. I love all of them. But yeah, I learned so much. Like, they really took me under their wing, and they helped me grow.
Which that would have been like your first time being on the road and everything, I guess.
Being on the road, like
regularly.
really, really on the road, yes. In a bus, actually going like internationally, like all that stuff. Yeah, that's the first time to experience that. It was their first time experiencing it too. Like, we all experienced it together.
How tough is that? Just not only the being on the road part, but even the live shows, like getting yourself up, like the nerves and everything. How tough is that?
It's different. Playing drums is different than singing. I played to a lot of really big crowds when I was with them, but I never got nervous about it ever, because I played my part. I got back there and I had a good time. I knew what I was going to do. It doesn't matter how big the crowd is going to be. Although I will say, this is kind of weird. As a singer, like when I'm performing that way, bigger crowds are better. I get way less nervous in front of really big crowds, and I get way more nervous in front of really small, intimate crowds. But like, I'm always going to get nervous when I go up to sing. Like, it's just a different place for me. But I don't know, like, the whole experience, man, it was just incredible. Like, it really helped me, helped me grow so much and like understand. It was never hard. It was always a great time. Like, I'm, at the time when I was 25, single, 25, on the road, I didn't have anyone to answer to.
Time to be doing
it was great, man. Like, there was I'm sure as life goes on and I experience more of that, it's going to get a little bit harder. But I live for that, man. I love being on the road. It's where I thrive, 100%. Just playing shows in general, no matter what. It's like, it gives me life.
That's awesome. Remember, y'all keep sending questions. I don't know if we have any more or not.
Yeah, we have a couple more. So, oh gosh, I lost it. Sorry. Reagan White asked a question. She said, some of the music you listen to would scare us. Can you please give us a sample?
I also want some more
Bonus points if you can sing Screamo.
Let's refrain. Let's refrain from screaming on the podcast. Let's not scream on the podcast. I don't need the bonus points.
We appreciate y'all tuning in, but unfortunately, apparently, you're not good enough to be screaming.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do all that. But yeah, music that would scare you. Like I said, this is a weird thing. Like, on Twitter, I see it all the time. I see people talking about, like, not even on Twitter, just in general. Like, when I ask people, what kind of music do you listen to? They're like, oh, I listen to everything, bro. And I'm like, really? Like, you listen to everything? And they're like, yeah. And then I play something, like, oh, except for that. I was like, don't tell me you listen to everything if you don't listen to everything. So I take pride in, like, legitimately listening to everything. And I'm not even kidding. I will go the furthest end of the spectrum to the other end. So when I say music that'll scare you, I listen to really, really, like, dark death metal sometimes. Like, I love it. I just love everything. I take away so many elements from different kinds of music. Like Cannibal Corpse, that's like a band like I'll listen to from time to time. It sounds like pretty bad, and it is pretty bad, but
we haven't heard a word or a lyric yet, but it was enough to make Jagger.
You don't want to hear a lyric. I promise you don't want to look up the lyrics. Don't do it, but
I'm gonna go out of my way not to.
I don't listen to it. Yeah, you should do that. I don't listen to it for the lyrical content. I listen to it just for just the energy of it.
That means
this is
to
crazy.
It for the lyrical.
But that's like probably the really far into it. But like there's subgenres of every like style of music, and I listen to just every style of like metal there is. I love like really heavy music in general. It's always been a big influence. So I'm assuming that's probably what you would have thought like music that would scare you would be. But yeah, I'm not gonna scream on the podcast. We're not doing that.
Hey, Kat Stovall wants to know. Yeah, just lost it. I
Uh-oh.
had it here. My bad, cat. Oh, here we go. Is Dr. Pepper an official sponsor of the Tyler Lennon Show? Not they should be.
No comment. Whoever pays us the most.
Here.
Abby Tip said, love you, Cade. And here's a good question from Christopher. Hypothetically, if you weren't in the music industry, what do you think you'd be doing?
You know, that's a great question.
You'd be co-hosting the show with me.
Yes, that's exactly what I would be doing. That really is a solid question because I even had this conversation with my mom last week. I don't know. And that's the scariest part about everything that I do is that I really, genuinely have no clue what I would do because I'm so invested. I've always preached to, and not preached it, I've not pushed it upon other people, but I've always stood my ground on the way I feel about things. Plan A, no plan B. Because if you have a plan B, then you have something you feel like you can fall back on, which is cool, but then you don't put 100%, you never do. You just don't put 100% into plan A. So, yeah, I've been very set on plan A, and I've been so, deep into it that I don't know. I'm so clouded. I just don't know what I would do. I really have no clue. Things that I'm, I don't know. I maybe...
Like I said, you still have time to become a
video game designer. Yeah. See, I love video games.
You still have time
I
to
do.
do that.
So I might, maybe that. I would either design video games. Maybe I would try to be the voice actor for Luigi
That would be awesome.
or Mickey Mouse. I can do a pretty good Mickey Mouse.
That's something I wanted to talk to you about. So I knew we vibed from the jump. I'm a Luigi guy too. Even all the way back to Mario Kart, the OG N64 Mario Kart, or Mario Party. I was always a Luigi guy. I feel like that's one. Don't leave me hanging on camera.
Oh, my bad.
Thank you.
I wasn't watching.
That was gonna hurt my feelings.
It's bad, man. I have a Luigi addiction. I have 4 Luigi figurines on my desk beside, when I'm making music.
You should have brought them. That would have been a really cool prop.
Dude, I used to keep some in my car, but I don't anymore. Okay, I'm gonna remember that next time when I come back.
So you have music on the way. I feel like that segues into a second part of the show when we have more music to talk about.
Yeah. There's also some other things I want to get into, but anything. Anyway,
this is an open floor. I say let's run with it. What do you want to get into?
Why don't I be the interview? What kind of music you got coming out? What's going on?
So I was going to ask you. You told your buddy he wanted to get into music. You had a vibe for him. I'm ready to get into music. So
okay.
What you got for me? You're going to produce my first single. What's it going to be? What do you see me making?
You could... I feel like, have you ever... No, I'm not going to roast you because it wasn't going to be a genuine roast. It was just going to be funny. I don't know. You get... just the vibes. You give me hip-hop vibes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Please roast Tyler.
I'm not going to roast
We need
him.
more people roasting me.
Have you ever seen, Froggy Fresh?
No!
2012?
Krispy Kreme?
Krispy Kreme?
I knew that's what you were going to say. When you were like, I'm not going to say it, I was like, he's talking about Krispy. I knew that's exactly what you were
I'm
gonna
just
say.
joking. I could see you doing hip hop though, but I've actually never heard you do anything.
There's
So
a reason
I
for
also
that.
honestly couldn't hear you doing music at all, just because I never heard a lick of it. I never heard
See,
anything.
I'm a lot better in this chair. I feel like.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very good in this chair. I'm really nervous right now.
You have more you want to get into? What do you want to get into?
Man, there's I don't know. Let's get into the music. Let's get into the new music right now.
Okay. Well, that's a good question. You had mentioned earlier people you look at as influences and everything, and we even talked about your playlist a little bit. But is there anybody out there making music that, again, even if it's not something you're going to make, that you look at and you're like, that's dope?
Ooh. Who was the band? There's a band called The Warning. They make rock. They're 3 girls from Mexico. They're all sisters. I think, I'm not 100% on the ages, 16, 18, and 21, I think. A drummer that also sings, a guitar player that sings, and then the youngest plays bass and also sings every once in a while.
Dope.
Dude, I get down.
You
And
get down
they
with The Warning,
inspire me a lot. They're called The Warning. And, man, that's something that I feel like is extremely dope. To me, especially that they're sisters, and if you go back to their YouTube channel, they've been making music, they've been playing music for a really long time, since they were little tots. It's awesome. But they inspire me a lot, and my friend Tyler showed them to me. But yeah, man, The Warning is probably one of those, and their influence might peek into some later projects. But
Awesome.
yeah. So I know I talked about this next album. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. This feels like an awful time to cut you off, but I was going to ask you, have an album coming out and everything.
Yeah.
But when you're in that mode, when you're in that process, do you find yourself working on outside stuff, or future projects even past that? Or?
Yes, which is actually what I was about to get into. So I have the whole setting for this album, but I also kind of have the concept for the next one already, and what I'm going to be doing after the album drops. Because, you know, like I said, the music business is just crazy. As soon as that album drops, I'm going to be working on, I am working on the next one. Already moving on to the next stuff. But yeah, I've kind of painted a picture in my head of what I want it to sound like and how I'm going to transition into it. I think music, I think a lot of things actually, not just music, but I think things go in like by decades. I think they come in phases and they always loop back around. I really truly feel like, 2020 to 2030, like this decade is going to be like the year or the 10 years that like live instruments come back. I really do. Like I think guitars are already dominant again.
I feel like we're starting to see more and more of that little bit already.
And shout out MGK. I think he's doing a really good job at like putting light to like that side of things. And I think that's like the next wave, and that's where I thrive. Like at the end of the day, I play instruments. I'm a musician.
Like you said, you're a musician before you are a singer.
Yes, I'm gonna be adding a lot more live band elements to my future records. 100%. That's awesome. Definitely the big plan for. I don't know if it's gonna be for the rest of the decade, but it's definitely like the next couple of years. I'm gonna be adding a lot of that, and I already have been like spotting that into stuff now. Like I put guitar solos in alternative pop songs, which isn't really like normal. Like people don't do that, but I feel like that's kind of like a staple for me. Like that's my thing. I want to carry that on. I want to put guitar solos. I want to be a little bit different and not be so like pop structured. Of course, I love pop music and I want it to be sometimes just like on the grid, but like I want to put my stamp on things, and I want it to be, oh, that's the guy who does like, he's going to put a guitar solo in the middle of this pop song, or something like that. I want that to be a part of like what I've got going on.
I feel like people would love to hear that. One thing I've been wanting to ask you, and I keep forgetting about it. We've seen you do some collaborations with a lot of East Texas people, a lot of 903 people like J Riz and Don.
Oh yeah.
Y'all had a collab album recently that y'all were all featured on. Mm-hmm. When it comes to collaborations like that, is it because y'all don't even necessarily make the same music, but you kind of fit with each other?
Yes.
Does that come about just because you're like, hey, 903 East Texas, we got each other's back, we rep each other? Like, how does that come about?
I feel like that energy is there. There's a blanket of that lies underneath all that. Like, yo, we are boys. Like, we're from the same area. Like, but that's not. It wasn't the main thing. I do want to shout out 91 Thompson and Swayze. I don't know if they're watching.
That was their project, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's their project. Those two have become like some of my best friends. Like, I have like 3 really close people to me right now. I have other close friends, but like 3 that are really in this line of career, and even outside of it would be Tyler Thompson. I've already mentioned him, and then 91 and Sway. They have been like pushing me to work hard, and but yeah, that came about. I met 91 in Fort Smith, Arkansas. I played a show there, and he came up to me. He was already a fan, and he approached me. This was probably about a year and a half ago, and he was like, "Dude, I've got this song, Little Red Ferrari. Like, I love your stuff. I want you to jump on this song." And I was like, "Okay, show it to me." And so he showed me the song in the middle of a band playing, like in the crowd. Like he put it up to my ear, and I'm like listening to this thing, and I'm getting hyped. I was like, "This dude is fire!" Like, cause this shit was crazy. Like it was honestly, it was amazing. And so I don't know. He just was so friendly at that time, and he was like, "Dude, I want to collab in the future." I was like, "Bet." So we formed this bond, and then they made their album, and then he approached me after. He was like, "Hey, I want to put Little Red Ferrari," and we didn't even touch it for like a year later. And he's like, "I want to put this on the deluxe. I want you to be a part of the deluxe." So we did that. He just sent it to me, and we had already like made connects, like just mutually, like J Riz. Shout out J Riz. I don't know if he's on here right now. He's on Back from the Dead. That's my biggest song to date. But yeah, I mean, we just all kind of linked up. I don't know. There was just a right energy between all of us that it wasn't necessarily like, hey, we're from the same area, but it was like that plus like we really do get along. Like all of us, like we are friends. Like at the end of the day.
I feel like the main reason why I wanted to ask that was because I feel like I think even myself included, just people doing creative things from here, we might not be great representations of what East Texas is or what like the 903 is, but we still have like a good bit of pride from being here. Yeah. And we have a lot of, I don't even know J Riz like that, but that's the homie. Me and him support each other and what we're doing. Me and you have always supported, because you just want to see each other make it. You're trying to help each other out. Yeah. I feel like, again, like even though we might not be great representations of the average person from here necessarily, like we still have pride from being here and want to see that 100%. Work. You know what I mean? Chad, anything that I haven't gotten to tonight? You have any questions? No?
Okay, so I want to get into something.
Okay.
It's going to be a big old curveball.
Okay.
So it's crazy. What time is it? 8:04 right now? So I actually got to leave at 8 in the morning, 12 hours from now.
Okay.
I'm going to be going to LA. Chad, the way Chad just looked at me. I'm leaving for LA in the morning for a couple days. I've had, there's been a lot of things that have happened in the last couple years that have, there's always been a thing like circulating around like whatever I've got going on. And I think the next like 5 or 6 months are going to be pretty crazy. I haven't really spoken about this to anybody. There's like literally like 3 people that know about this, 3 including like my band too.
So you might as well tell everyone watching tonight, huh?
Well, I got to be careful because there's a couple people in particular that don't know that if I exposed it this way, they would probably be pretty upset.
Fair.
But let's just say that there's a lot of crazy things going on right now with whatever I've got, just all behind closed doors. I'm very optimistic about just the career in general, especially at this point. Like I think there's been a lot of things that I've been doing, and with all the things that people have been helping me with, Chad being one of them. I think just the whole team effort of whatever I've got going on is finally starting to really like pay off. Like not that it hasn't paid off because I'm definitely proud of like where I'm at right now, and I'm happy with it. But like I always want to grow. I'm not even close to like I don't ever want to peak, but I'm not even close to where I would be if I were to peak.
Right.
So. I fly out tomorrow to check out a situation
Awesome.
that I wasn't going to say it, but I'll just say it, that might lead me to moving there very soon.
Awesome.
So I'm not going to go into too many details. That's all I'm going to say. But there is a situation in hand that's going to lead me there. So checking it all out tomorrow.
I will say we actually worked, we kind of had to schedule this interview around that. Because it was going to be either next week or you're like, I'm leaving then. So
because I do get my wisdom teeth taken out next week, too.
Which I think would have been a more fun show.
Yeah, just
Cade
with
coming
gauze.
right out of that. I think that would have been a way more fun show.
I actually requested that.
You did?
He did. He did request
That would be really funny. Could you imagine?
I felt like I was doing a good job on your part booking. I was like, maybe we stay away from that.
If that one thing wasn't there, then yeah, it would have been great. But next time I get my wisdom teeth taken out,
Next time he gets
we'll do it.
Next time, whether you've got new music to promote or not, he's coming back and we're doing that show.
Yes.
We're doing the fresh out of the wisdom teeth show with Cade.
Yes.
It'll be part 2, part 3.
This is really good, by the way.
This is our other sponsor. The people asked about the sponsors tonight.
Is that Pana or Pana? I don't know. Either way, do you know? Pana?
It's water.
Oh yeah. It's
Just to make sure.
It's agua.
It's water. It is water.
It's water.
It is.
It's water.
I did say that very redneck, you didn't know.
So yeah, I wish I could really dive into the details of that situation, but I do want whoever cares to know, and whoever's watching right now to know that there's a lot of crazy things that are probably about to happen, and I don't like being that guy that says, things are about, but legitimately there's a situation lined up where things could potentially pop off very quickly.
Either 2 or 3 times ever that you've told me things are about to happen, and immediately things did happen. So you're not that person.
Yeah, I don't like to say that unless I feel like there's something that is actually in motion that will actually, like, there's a large percent of chance that it will happen. So really excited. I'm also, I'm a little scared because, growth is always kind of scary at times, but I always love getting out, out of my comfort zone. So I'm excited for whatever's about to happen for sure.
Awesome. For those of you that have been tuning in with us tonight, thank y'all so much. Cade, dude, thank you so much for coming on with us, dude. You got new music and everything coming out here in the near future. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you back again soon.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, is there just an open platform to you to talk to your fans, listeners, anything you want to say? That's a weird question to put you on the spot. I apologize.
I don't know. I love you. I love you all. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, I appreciate everyone. I really do. Whoever's here watching that came from me, shout out these guys. Keep watching the podcast because these guys, everyone in this building is extremely talented, and they are also doing a lot of really big things. And I don't know, they all inspire me. So if they're inspiring me and I'm inspiring you, like, they're inspiring you at the end of the day. But I appreciate everybody. I really do. And, everyone really plays a big part into, wherever I'm at today, like, no matter what. Like, I can't do this by myself. I'll always need others to help lift me up, whether that's like just a friend who like comes to me when I'm feeling really low, or just people who support me no matter what, who are always listening to the music. Like, I really do appreciate that. I don't know if I'm getting way too deep into this right now,
good.
but I appreciate every single one of y'all. Like, this is not me. This is literally us, and I really do believe that. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like he said, dude, thank y'all so much for tuning in tonight. We will be continuing to do this. We'll have some guests. I don't know what I can and can't say, but we have some guests coming up. I mentioned it earlier in the show. The Lennon Closet podcast will also be coming back soon. So we've got some very big stuff coming up soon. Thank you all so much for hanging out with
Oh,
us.
wait. I'm sorry.
What?
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. What?
But 2 things. Can I announce the 2 live shows?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be super dope.
So December 3rd, playing in CRC, or in Tyler at CRC, opening up for Giovanni and the Hired Guns.
2
and
nights before my birthday. I might have to show out for
You
that
should
one.
show
I might
up.
have to.
Come on. And then headlining a show with 91 and Sway on December 17th. I believe that's a Friday, back in Denton. So if any of you guys want to catch a show in the next few months, I know that's like all I've got for December right now because Christmas is coming up. But yeah, that's where I'll be. So December 3rd, December 17th, I'll put the dates on Twitter or wherever any social media pretty soon after this podcast. But yeah, hope y'all make it to that.
Y'all should definitely make it to that. We'll be trying to make it to that. I think that's all we got. Thank y'all so much to Chad, Casey, Chloe, Logan, Taylor, everybody involved in this. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a great night.